I thank the gentleman for yielding. I'm going to ask each one of you a question related to this scenario, because this is a real scenario. In Yuma, Arizona, they have one hospital for about 150,000 people. They have a small maternity unit, about 8 to 10 beds. Many times the beds, every one of them is occupied by a mom-to-be who has illegally crossed our border, usually through the Cocopah Reservation. I know right where they come, and they go in, and they have a baby, and then they both depart to go back south across the border. And I guess my question for each one of you is this: under the original meaning, because I'm trying to establish, you've all made it clear, I want to make it clear. Under the original meaning of the 14th Amendment, Ms. Frost, is that child a citizen of the United States of America?
Yes, of course, because the Reconstruction Congress wanted in simple and clear language.
Thank you, appreciate that. Oh, and now, Mr. Cooper?
No, Congressman, not under the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Mr. McCarter?
I agree with Mr. Cooper, that's correct.
Mr. O'Brien?
No, because she's not lawfully present in the United States, the mother.
So let's consider, we have a very, very disparate interpretation of Wong Kim Ark. We've got Ms. Frost, whose position, and I don't want to misstate it, but that the original allegiance or the jurisdiction thereof displaced the allegiance requirement, right? So there's no more allegiance requirement. Is that fair? Is that a fair description of what you're saying, at least on that portion?
I'm not sure what you're referring to by the original allegiance requirement. There was never an allegiance requirement. There was the Dred Scott decision.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. You believe there was never a jurisdiction thereof never required allegiance to the sovereign. And so now I want to clarify that. When you get to that, Mr. McCarter, why is it that in Wong Kim Ark, the court said that the plaintiff or the appellant in that case was actually a citizen of the United States?
The Supreme Court's rationale is a little hard to follow in Wong Kim Ark, to be honest, but it does say that the parents there were lawfully present with the consent of the sovereign, which is the United States, the equivalent of our modern-day LPR, lawful permanent resident.
So if because that's the way I read Wong Kim Ark. They're talking about there's lawful presence, and there's an intention de domicile, which has a legal term of art, meaning you're intending to live there, stay there, and be part of that community. That's really what that gets at. So I'm baffled by the notion then that if you cross through the Cocopah Reservation and you go into the regional hospital in Yuma and you have a baby and your intention is to immediately leave and go back home, you're not legally present in the United States, nor do you have an intention to be here. Why then does that baby entitled to birthright citizenship, Mr. Cooper?
Sorry, Congressman, that baby is not entitled to birthright citizenship. And I think Wong Kim Ark does not in any way support the claim that it's entitled to birthright citizenship. As I mentioned previously, the issue in that case was very clearly limited to aliens who had established a permanent and lawful domicile in this country. So whether you think that's sufficient or not, it clearly doesn't sweep within it people who have come into this country illegally. And I would also point out, Wong Kim Ark itself said there are some certain irresistible conclusions to be drawn from the Citizenship Clause, including that the 14th Amendment affirms the ancient and fundamental rule of citizenship by birth within the territory in the allegiance and under the protection of the country. And the reason they concluded there.
And I have to go there because I want to go real quick because it actually segues from that nicely. And that is one of the things, and actually Ms. Frost she indicated this. In the Indian tribe case, when we look at that, is because there was respect for a tribal Indian having an allegiance to that tribe. That's very different than someone who crosses over, has a baby, and returns to their native country. Isn't that true? Mr. O'Brien, I'll go to Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, that's true. And in Wong Kim Ark, what the court did was they inferred that long-term residence was an intention by someone who was working towards citizenship and wanted to be a long-term member of the community in the United States. So the court was at pains to point out that there were two qualifications. One, that the individual attempting to transmit citizenship had to be lawfully present in the United States with the permission of the government. And number two, that that person was within the allegiance of the United States, meaning that that individual had more than a simple obligation to obey the laws while present.